This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. We're in Liverpool with me, Frank Smith. Frank, busy times for you. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's been a fun few weeks out in the US, and glad to be back for a big weekend this weekend, and another one the following as well. So good to be back.
Start with why we're here. Conor Benn and Chris Algieri. We'll start there. I was with Conor last week. He really fired up as always, but Chris Algieri, when we had him on Zoom, he was clear to make a point. He's not just here to fall over. He's here to test Conor Benn. What do you think he'll bring on Saturday night?
Yeah, look, I think he's got a lot of experience, Chris Algieri, and he looks in great shape, obviously, and I think it's a good fight for Conor, and a fight that he needs at this stage of his career, to keep growing, developing. Chris Algieri's been in there with some of the best, so Conor's going to go in there and learn a lot on Saturday night, but I believe another great performance from him and another big win.
For people that maybe look at the age of Chris Algieri at 37, do you think that's almost an irrelevance, given we've seen how in great shape Chris Algieri is at 147? He shouldn't have too many issues either. Yeah,
and I also think experience counts for so much. We saw what Kiko Martinez came and did against Kid Galahad, written off before that fight. These are the types of fights that Conor needs to build and develop from here to move then on into the bigger fights in the 147 division. I think age is just a number.
If Conor is victorious, I know Eddie's talked about wanting to face the Brook winner. Saw Adrian Broner's tweet yesterday saying he might have to give Eddie Hearn a call. What is the fight to make for him next year?
Yeah, I think that's a great fight that you just mentioned there. There's so many out there for him. We've got to focus on his career though and make the best decision for him. But so many opportunities out there for him. Whether there's also the like you say, the Brook winner is a possibility. Adrian Broner, who's making his comeback. You say 140 or 147? I don't know. A lot of fights out there for him, but first focus is get through this weekend.
Katie Taylor back in action as well. Expecting a big contingent of Irish to come out and show the support this weekend? Yeah,
tickets have gone really well for the show. Katie Taylor, good to have her back out again so quickly. Ahead of a big fight next year that has been spoken about a lot against Serrano. I think the focus for her is to go in there, get a big win. She takes on a WBA mandatory in Sharapova, who's coming over here with a good record, and it'll be a tough fight for her.
If she gets Sharapova out of the way, is the Serrano fight got to be next?
That's what we're working towards. That's the aim for all of us, is to make that fight happen. It's the biggest fight out there in female boxing, and a massive fight for the sport as a whole. So fingers crossed we can get that over the line.
Katie is always very dismissive of questions about how long she wants to fight for or when she might not fight anymore. As far as she's concerned, she just wants to keep going and going. The Serrano fight's there, but also you guys have kind of got all the belts tied up at 140 with that tournament. 147, are they all possibilities as well next year?
Yeah, for sure. 140, 147, when you look at the across the divisions, all the way from 130 to 147, we're working with all the champions. Michaela Myers, the one with top rank, but there's a lot of opportunity for her there. I think key focus is get the win Saturday night for Katie as well, move on to hopefully the Serrano fight, and then the opportunities there for her to move up. They're huge fights, and for her to become another undisputed champion at another weight, that's definitely an option for her.
Just to go through the rest of the card, Robbie Davis and Hammer and Hank Lundy, do you think that's the sleeper of the card?
I think it's a really good fight. We were supposed to think Hank Lundy was supposed to fight here recently, and that was going to be a tough test with Lewis Ritson. I think it's a good fight for Robbie Davis. Coming back, he had a small warm-up fight on our last Liverpool show on the October 9th show, and good to get him back out quickly in a big fight and move on from here into some big nights for him. But tough fight. Hank Lundy's going to come here, and this is an opportunity to put in a big performance, get a big win.
Peter McGrail made his debut on a Matchroom show. He's back out again. He's one of these Olympians that's kind of just assessing his options right now. I just want to ask you about that crop of Olympians that everyone's working towards signing right now. How competitive is it in this current market to sign them?
Yeah, completely. Look, it's quite obvious to see there's a lot of options out there now. Whether that's the Sky and Boxer route, whether that's Frank Warren and BT Sport, there's a lot of option for fighters out there. We believe we're the best at building fighters up, and we've shown from the way we've worked with fighters from their debuts all the way through and what we've delivered for many Olympians in the past. We're still focused on a number of them. Great to have Peter on the show again and his brother Joe. Great performance and atmosphere for his first fight, so looking forward to that again. But the Olympians, we're talking to a number of them, and let's see how things play out. I think it's right for a lot of them, not to rush the decision. This is the biggest decision of their career, and I think that's the right thing to do.
Frank, huge news for the heavyweight division. Fury-Whyte finally looks like we could be getting somewhere with that. I believe they've now got 30 days to reach a deal before purse bids. Are you confident that deal will be reached?
Let's see. There's obviously a number of different sides involved in that. So let's see how things play out on that front. And ultimately, if not, it will go to purse bids and the fighters will all get paid. But let's see how things play out on that.
You guys spoken to Dillian? Had any reaction from him following that ruling?
I haven't spoken to Dillian. I'm sure Eddie has. I haven't seen him yesterday though, so I'm sure he'll be able to give an update when you speak to him tomorrow.
Is that the kind of fight that would be on DAZN pay-per-view if you guys were to secure the rights to that?
I mean, look, ultimately the aim is for us to get it on the DAZN platform. DAZN haven't announced any intentions of pay-per-view yet, but that's the kind of fight where, if pay-per-view was necessary to make a fight of that magnitude happen, I think that's where those discussions have been in the past around the launch of or the potential discussion of a pay-per-view fight. That would be a pay-per-view on any other platform. And there's also nothing stopping other platforms from getting involved in that. It's the joy of a purse bid. Anyone can get involved. It doesn't just have to be the promoters related to the fighters. So, let's see how things play out.
We've seen Tyson Fury's comments of the last few weeks saying he wants Usyk-Joshua to step aside. We've seen Frank Warren talking about it, starting to get a little bit of momentum. Does that sort of just quash any of that talk and set the way for Usyk-Joshua too?
There's loads of talk around it all. Let's see. AJ, as we said before, is always focused on. He wants to go in there and fight Usyk again. I think the talk was, look, if it made sense, then it was an opportunity we'd look at. Obviously, as you mentioned there, with WBC calling White Fury, maybe that makes a change with what those discussions were. So let's see how things play out. It's going to be an interesting 30 days, and we'll work from there.
It's been a mental couple of weeks for the lightweight division. You're obviously out there for George Kambosos and Teofimo Lopez, and Devin Haney's been in action. Gervonta Davis has been in action. We've seen Kambosos since his fight sort of doing the rounds and getting his face out there. Is that fight with Devin Haney, though, the perfect way for you guys to go into Matchroom Australia, potentially?
Yeah, for sure. It's been our intention for a while has been to go into the Australian market. We've signed, as you would have seen, we signed a number of Australian fighters, whether that's Brock Jarvis, Dempsey McKean, and some other fighters we're in the process of announcing soon. It's a huge fight to launch in Australia. Devin Haney, but at the same time, it's a huge fight for the US as well. So we need to do what makes sense for Devin Haney, who's obviously worked with us for a long time now, but it's the fight he wants. And one thing I will say is Devin Haney is willing to go to Australia. A lot of fighters wouldn't be willing to make that trip, but he's up for making that trip and going out there. So let's see how things play out. That's definitely the number one fight though we want to do.
So Leonard Ellerby saying that they've already been talking behind the scenes to Kambosos as people to try and maybe make Gervonta Davis against George Kambosos. How great a position is he in right now with the pick of the fights really with them belts behind him? Yeah,
look, he's going to make the decision that makes the most sense for him. And fair play to him. He's gone in there and done that. He won the belts. He proved a lot of people wrong on that night. So, yeah, look, he's got a lot of options, but our focus is obviously to try and make the Devin Haney fight with George Kambosos, his people, and Lou DiBella and Peter Khan, etc. So, let's see how things play out. But Tank's another option for him, obviously.
Final one from me, Frank. Obviously coming up to Christmas now. Frank Smith's Christmas wish list. What 3 fights would you want to see next year under the Matchroom banner?
I would like to see. I thought you were going to say what would I like for Christmas, and I didn't have an answer for it. 3 fights I would like to see. I'd like to see Taylor Serrano because we've been talking about it for a long, long time. That's a fight I'd like to see. I'd like to see a Coley Breedis at some point next year. And I would like to see Anthony Joshua at some point next year for the undisputed heavyweight titles. So, however we end up there.
Frank Smith, thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.